Evolution.org episode 643 is coming your way. We're talking today with EVO Logger Dreamer, talking about the dream. And this one is going to be a really good one. So you can come on the forum, the top right, hit the search button, search by member, put in Dreamer, Dreamer, and you'll see his profile pop up. You can click on his profile, click on one of his posts, read one of his posts, and in his signature, you will see his logs. And he currently has two old logs and a current log that he's doing. So you guys can check that out there and kind of see what he's been up to. So first, a reminder: when we are on Apple, we are on Spotify. Smash the like button, subscribe, leave comments, all that good stuff. It helps the algorithms pick up the podcast. So it's very, very important so we get this podcast going and grow it even further. So Dreamer, thank you for joining us. I know it's late in Australia. How you doing today?
Yeah, going well, thank you. Yeah, it's 10:30 at the moment, PM, so late night.
Past my bedtime. One one
Oh,
of the
well past
things
mine.
one of the things we've done in recent shows, and I actually made a note on this, Steve, with regards to the Australians, especially because of the time difference, and this is for the benefit of the Americans, as Streamers just said, it's 10:30 at night. It's lunchtime for me, and it's early morning for Steve. So being able to get members like Dreamer to come onto the show past my bedtime, Steve, is a big deal. So thank you for that, especially. But more than that, and this is what we said on recent shows, and you're a great example of this, Dreamer. Having members of the evolutionary community come on and tell their story will benefit not just the members of the forum, but the listeners as well. And it's helping the community aspect, which existed before, grow into something more special. And especially the last, I think, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, the community has grown. The activity amongst the members helping each other out is enormous, with messages and DMs and everything, not just a post on the forum. So on behalf of the forum, the moderators, myself, Steve, and the bosses, thank you very much for coming on today and doing this show, because it will help other people.
Thank you for having me on. I've been listening to the podcast for quite a while, and it's a little bit surreal to be on it myself, but yeah, no, I appreciate it.
So let's get started. Let's talk about your background a little bit, Dreamer. Your current stats, you started your log, a new log yesterday. So we have your most recent stats: 193 centimeters, 95 kilograms, and 9% body fat. So again, you can go and check out Dreamer's log and you'll be able to see his physique. He's extremely lean, extremely ripped. So that's really what we like to see. I mean, that's a good 9% is a good number. You can always cut down from there, and you've got room to bulk if you want to put on a little bulk. So that's really, really good. So your plan and your current goal is to go from 95 kilograms up to 105 kilograms, which is 10 kilograms, which is 22 pounds, but also stay as lean as possible. So the goal is really, really good. And again, this is what we want. We want to put on muscle while also staying lean or getting leaner. That's the idea of bodybuilding. Nobody gets into bodybuilding because they want to gain fat and lose muscle, So, that's why we do the whole bodybuilding thing. So that's your current stats. Tell us a little bit about your history, though. Go back in time. Did you grow up playing sports? Did you start getting into weight training as a teenager, or were you more of a late bloomer when it comes to that stuff? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, Dreamer. Tell us your background. Go ahead.
yeah. So I played sport pretty much most of my younger life. Being tall, I got put into basketball, but I was never really much of a basketballer. I was pretty good with Aussie rules, so the football every year. I played that for many, many years, and I was sort of on and off with the weight training. It wasn't until I was sort of in my early 20s I started taking it a bit more serious. I always liked to keep pretty lean, done heaps of cardio. Um, yeah, kind of fell away as I get into my mid 20s. Got more into the drinking and the partying and that side of life. So the body ended up probably not quite where I wanted it to be. Ended up with quite a few health conditions as well because of that. And yeah, sort of into my early 30s is when I started really getting back into it. I ended up with myocarditis, which is like inflammation of the heart. So through that, I was getting a heap of blood tests and scans and things done, and it actually turned out that I had low testosterone. So that's what actually put me on to starting on the PEDs and in that side of
Mhm.
life.
How old were you when you got on the TRT?
I was 30 years
Okay.
old. I think, I think a lot of it, obviously the lifestyle of drinking and partying
Yeah. So
not really
tell us,
treating your body well.
before you continue, tell us about that lifestyle. How did you get into that? Is that common in Australia? Is it like a peer pressure thing, or did you just hang out with like a party crowd? What got you into that type of thing?
In Australia, there's a massive drinking culture. I think some of the other Australians has alluded to that as well.
Yeah.
When you're involved in, in sport like football and that, there's a lot of that associated with it as well.
So you
So,
guys go to
yeah,
have your game or you practice and then afterwards everyone goes to
Yes.
drink pretty much. That's pretty much how it is.
beers, yeah, pretty much. So,
Yeah.
some people can moderate that, but I was not one of those people. So,
So
ended up
give
being less
me
about.
give me an idea of a bad day when it came to alcohol. Like how much were you drinking? How many beers? How much hard liquor? What was a maximum day like you like?
Well, I think it sort of eventuated, from social. It kind of slips away from you. You don't realize until you sit there and you go, well, on Monday I had 12 beers, on Tuesday I had 12 beers, and it's sort of
Yeah.
you end up in that, it evolves into something very slyly that you're not sure how you really got
Okay.
there.
So
But
it was mostly beer. It wasn't like hard liquor and stuff like that. Mostly
yeah,
beer.
mostly beer.
Okay.
I think Australia is probably, I think we're the biggest beer drinkers in the world. I think so. Yeah,
That's
I think
something to
that's
hang
that's
your
I'm
hat
pretty,
on,
I'm
right?
pretty sure, yeah, Steve. I'm thinking it's going to be the Germans, the English, and the Australians fighting for the title
yeah.
between them. Honestly,
So I'll let Mobster jump in, but one last question on that. How much money were you spending on all that beer every day?
Um, enough. Yeah, I'd say,
Yeah.
probably, 30, $40 Australian. So
Jeez.
it's
Okay.
not, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's about 140, 150 quid a week if you're doing it every fucking
That's
day, and that would
Yeah.
be
well,
that
people.
would be the best part of
And then
$200 a week
one last question
US.
before I let Mobster jump in. How were you feeling when you were doing the drinking? How was your body? What did your body look like? Were you overweight? Was you
Well,
a beer gut? Tell us about that.
well, that's one of the things, it's not until you see a picture of yourself and you look back and go, wow, of let go a little bit. So in the moment, you don't feel too bad, but yeah, seeing pictures of, me at certain functions and events and whatever, yeah, you can start to see it.
Hmm.
Yeah, not good, not good.
So yeah, the
You're
big
up to about
Let
100.
me
beer
give it a
gut,
thing
right?
here, Steve. Sorry, I know that, for example, game day in America with the American football, you have that. I've forgotten what it's called, Steve, where everybody parks up in the car park outside the stadium and the
Tailgate.
barbecue come in. Tailgate, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in Wales and to a lesser degree in England, but I think it's the same as Australia here. And just as an example, when I've worked outside of retail stores in my older job, my last proper job included, which was a car parking thing, the match day culture comes over, and it's weird, right? When you're younger, you're invincible, so you play in the sport, which keeps you fit, and you have a few beers, and you're kind of balancing those two things out. Hopefully, your fitness is at a certain particular level, and it negates the price, if you like, that you pay when you drink a few beers. The problem is, as you get older, and especially as I'm using Dreamer as an example here, once you approach 30, that invincibility and bouncing back and being able to deal with it kind of starts to slacken off. And obviously, in Dreamer's case, it's impacted his fertility, which we'll get into. So here in the U, and again, I'm just using the example here in South Wales. Match days for me were the quietest fucking afternoons when I was doing my shifts because all the guys would run in, they'd all buy an 8 or a 12 pack, and it's match day, so I'm allowed to drink this. And the wife and the family kind of understand it. So they're not caning it during the week. But when match day comes around, they will literally, for the whole match, drink 8 beers, 9 beers, 10 beers, whatever. And it's not something you would do on a daily basis. But again, that is a shitload of beer to be doing in a 90-minute or 100-minute period, i.e., the length of the game, with the breaks and whatever the fuck. And I'm seeing these guys come in literally 5 minutes before kickoff, seeing them buy these 8 packs, whatever. I'm thinking I might have 2 or 3 if I'm in the fucking mood. Normally it's 1 or 2. I can't imagine drinking 8 pints or 8 tins of beer in 90 minutes or whatever else. And again, especially at my age. So it's very easy, and this is not a knock on Dreamer, but it's very easy for men, Australians, whatever, the British, whatever, Welsh, to get into that thing and don't think it's a big fucking deal. But again, Dreamer in his 30s goes and gets his numbers done and realizes it is that made an impact. You're not invincible. You might still be able to run around the pitch or the stadium or whatever, but look what the fuck I'm doing. And I think it's very, very easy with peer pressure and your team members to get into that kind of a lifestyle without even fucking realizing it. And the reality is, of course, Dreamer's another good example. Here you are now, Dreamer, wanting to be in shape, wanting to be lean, wanting to be muscular. So again, as we do with a lot of these shows, Steve, we've gone with the guys that have kind of made mistakes, realizing that they can't keep fucking around with their bodies. You're not invincible. You're not a robot that we can bolt new parts onto. You need to look after yourself. And I think that's where you've come, Dreamer. You've come full circle from where you fit as fuck, realizing you're fucking yourself up, and back to fit as fuck again. So we'll talk a little bit about that. What made you want to change? Was it just a fertility, or was there a need, obviously, to want to be muscular, to be strong, or whatever else?
No, so I said before, there was actually a health thing that eventuated with me. It got to a point, I don't know if it was related or not, but it was definitely a wake-up call. I ended up with myocarditis. So I was laying down one night and my heart just was going up 150, 160 beats a minute for no reason. I actually thought I was having a heart attack. I wasn't, but yeah, I ended up getting a whole heap of labs done, getting checked out, and I was off for about 6 months. It took me out. So at that point in time, I stopped everything bad I was doing in my life, and really just tried to get my health back. I was lucky enough to obviously get there. But
Yes.
for that moment, it's that was really the wake up call, and that's where I discovered obviously low hormones, a whole bunch of lipids were out, everything was bad. So that was the big wake up call, which in the moment I was pretty upset about, but now looking back on it, it actually probably saved my life.
I was going to say, Steve, I think that would be scary as fuck, and that
At
would
his
that,
age,
yeah,
to have that,
and
it's
that's
crazy.
going to get your fucking heart going, just being fucking Jesus fucking Christ. But as
Yeah,
you say, why with that wake up call? I mean, some of us need it for other reasons, but and again, we've discussed this on the other shows, the journeys, if you like, the idea that you need a kick up the arse. We've talked about Harley guy fucking dying and being resuscitated wasn't enough. With, the other guys fucking drugs and drugs and drugs for years and years and years with van life and so on. Literally fucking, best part of a decade doing stupid shit and still not having that kick up the arse. So in a perverse kind of way, having that wake up call, having that kick up the arse is kind of almost thank fuck, because it's made you fucking, because where would you be now if you had, I mean, how fucked would you be now?
doing the same thing. So yeah, no, exactly. It's made me really change my life, and yeah, it's a bit of a blessing in disguise looking back. It's funny actually. I was listening to the Jigglypuff podcast the other day, and she alluded to something as well where I've had people now that tell me that the choices that I'm making are not necessarily positive, but these are the same people that were very supportive of the decisions I was making that led me to this in the first place. So there's a real stigma around obviously what we do in this world, but especially in Australia.
There's a lot of hypocrisy, and
Yes.
we see this all the time in this world because as human beings, we're such complicated creatures, and we don't have, we're not as smart as we make ourselves out to be. We're actually pretty dumb because if you put a human being in the middle of an island and say survive, a human being, most people out there would not be able to survive very long. So we're not that smart. So, we see that a lot. And there's also the jealousy factor, which is
Yes.
a thing that's definitely a big thing where people get jealous of your improvements and your success,
Yeah.
and they want to kind of
It
bring you down. So,
reminds them, Steve, that they're not doing those things. It reminds them.
yeah.
And a lot of it, because you and I have done one single show on that particular thing, we said the media impacts. We were talking about having syringes and steroids in the house, and whether the wife, partner, girlfriend, whatever, was going to freak the fuck out. And should you tell them? And I said, how many times have I said on these shows? Average American adult is on 5 prescription medications. The stories back in the day with here in the UK, and I'm sure it's the same in Australia, was the irony of reporters or journalists talking about bodybuilders and athletes using steroids, and them fuckers used to ring their stories in from the pub. So they're a pint in one hand and a cigarette in the other, and they're slagging off bodybuilders for taking steroids. And the reality of the situation is Dreamer knows exactly where he is in terms of his protocol. He knows exactly what his body fat percentage is. He eats clean. We can talk about this just for Dreamer, but obviously other people we've had on the show. So the idea that they go, oh, you might be doing something dangerous. What I was doing before was way fucking worse. It could have fucking killed me. And now you're just worried about me having a little bit of poor cholesterol. Now you're just worried about me making,
It's like a
getting an
smoker.
increase.
It's like
Yes,
someone who
yes,
smokes saying someone who smokes the other day told me how dangerous sharks are. So I said, did you know that sharks last year killed 5 people in the entire world? Yet you're
yep.
smoking, and smoking in the United States kills 2 million people a year.
Yes,
So
yes.
something that kills 2 million people a year versus something that kills 5 people a year, which one is more dangerous? And that usually just shuts them
Steve, there's
up, you
probably
know?
more people dying in the US from fucking aspirin, even stomach issues because they took fucking painkillers
Yeah.
versus the steroids. And I've done this one
It's
before.
not
So
even the
it's
steroids though. It's the it's just getting in shape. Dreamer got in shape and they're putting him
yeah,
down for getting
yeah.
in shape and they're out of shape,
Well,
So it's not
well,
even throw steroids away.
my
It's like yeah.
Yeah, go on.
sorry, like my
No, go
my
on, go on.
like I've got my labs from previously, and to be honest,
Yes,
at my worst, these are better. Everything is better. So
yes,
yeah,
yes.
it's confirmation to me that I don't really mind what people say. I know for a fact that it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
I
go
got past
extreme
the
with
Steve.
yeah, if you abuse
I,
steroids, obviously, like Rich Piana or Dallas
yeah,
McCarver or Boston Larry, any of these guys, or Jerry Ward, any of these guys who've died young, then yes, they're dangerous because they'll shorten your lifespan. But if you use them properly, they won't. They won't compare it to some of these other things that do that. But anyway, that's we already know that. Everyone who listens to the show already knows all this shit.
yes, yes.
At the end of the day, if you eat like shit, whether you're using steroids or not, and you drink 12 beers a day, whether you use steroids or not, it's not good.
Yeah,
That's the point that Dreamer was able to change. So talk about Dreamer. That was kind of a wake up call. It was the best thing
yeah.
that happened to you. You got things on point. How long would you say you've been extremely like fucking dedicated to weight training and bodybuilding and being healthy? How many years has that been?
Yeah.
I'm 34 now, so I'd say 4 years. Pretty much from the moment that I started the TRT, I cleaned up my diet,
Okay.
started training, started cardio. So yeah, I've been pretty locked in for a while.
So that's been
Um,
that seems like that's been your motivation, because you're like, fuck, I'm on TRT. I might as well take advantage of this. And I might as well, keep everything strong.
Let me
well,
ask
when
you a
I
question. Let me ask you a question here because this actually might be useful for listeners. I'm going to ask you how it applies to you. You obviously had that wake up call. You changed the thing. What keeps you going in that lifestyle? What keeps you going to the gym? What made most people's problem when it comes to fitness changes in their life is they need to get past, I believe the number is roughly 16 weeks. And then once you get past the 16 weeks, it should be an ingrained habit. So what made you keep at it when it was hard? What makes you keep at it now when it's a tough day?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm very just driven to get to probably the best I can be. I see the progress, and I think you know going back a little bit, I tried very hard to get back into the gym and get back into fitness, and I just couldn't. My energy wasn't there. I wasn't making any progress, and I think now looking back, it's because I was low T really. Once I started getting back into it with that. It all sort of started falling in place. I was actually able to progress. I was able to recover, and I've fallen in love with it again. And I think when you see that progress and, it's those
Yes.
days where you don't really want to do it and you go over, you do go to the gym and you get it done. And it just feels great. I've walked in many, many times in a bad mood and walked out in a good mood. And I think
Yes.
that's probably what keeps me going.
One of the ones, it was two things that occurred to me from someone else's log, not yours. When the person who's in very good shape says about they're not seeing the shape, and they talked about dysmorphia. And then the other one that occurred to me was and I've had this happen to me, and I'm sure listeners have had it happen. You're tired, you've done a hard day of work, stressful, whatever. And those days you think, oh, my training's going to be shit. And yet some of my best training sessions, like you said, gone in, tired, miserable, pissed off, whatever else, and walked out on top of the fucking world. This is when I used to train in the evening, Steve, after work. And I was surprised the fuck because I thought it was going to be like the world's shittiest training session. So the feeling, and again, this is for the listeners, the feeling you get when you've got to let that stress go, you surprise yourself that you've actually got the energy and you come out pumped the fuck and you're feeling good and you've seen yourself in the mirror just before you left. lifts you up. So that's another reason why you plug away and you're consistent and you do your shit. Because even on your hardest, worst, nasty, horrible days, you've actually ended up having a great session and felt fucking amazing. And that's the buzz that we all love. I'm a dreamer for sure, because he just said, went in tired, whatever, and come out felt fucking amazing. That is sometimes the best training sessions. And not only that, you're still doing your shit that needs to be done on a rough, horrible, nasty fucking day, and you got it done. When everybody else has said, fuck this, I'm going to go home and watch the TV and put my feet up. So I love that shit. So yeah, absolutely. I love that dreamer
Yeah.
that
So
you've
let's
managed
get
to
in.
get.
Yeah. Go finish up. Yeah.
No, yeah, no. Well, I've started doing cardio first thing in the morning, so 5 a.m. And at the start, I really didn't want to do that. It was when I started getting into the car and the weight loss was slowing down, so I added it in. And actually, over the last probably couple of weeks, I've really started to enjoy it. It's one of those things I dread it every morning, but leaving they're probably the
Oh, it's
best
the
sessions
best
I think.
thing. It's the best
You
thing,
Yeah,
set the
especially
day up.
fasted.
You set the fucking day up because you've done the hardest part of
yeah.
your day. It's 5 o'clock in the fucking morning. You're ready for the rest of the day easy.
So let's get into the fertility story, and I'll let Dreamer. We talked about it on the pre-show. And it's very, very
Yes.
important. So touch on your fertility journey and what happened there.
Well, I actually so when I first went on TRT here, I went through a clinic who assured me that, fertility would remain, it'd be okay, it'd be all good. It was always something I wanted to do. My partner wanted to do as well, my wife. Um, didn't really work that way. I was on HCG initially with the protocol, and it just, I don't think it was very, very successful at all. We were not having much luck at all. So I actually went through one of the Aussie labs to go through a protocol of HMG, HCG, HGH. I researched a whole lot of what needs to be added. It's very, very hard to get help with that in Australia, or very expensive as well. So I actually found it just better do it through EVO. Really, I went through Raptor Labs. And he was very, very helpful. And yeah, it took me about 3 months. I was on HMG. I was taking it daily, so 75 IUs. HCG, a low dose of test at the start, which I ended up dropping in the end and replacing with clomiphene. But yeah,
Yep.
3 months. It was a bit grueling at the start, coming off. Didn't feel very good at all, but yeah, we were successful. So my wife is now.
I'm gonna ask a question here, mate, because the idea that a clinic that sells you testosterone for TRT purposes telling you, I can't see how this works, Steve. See if someone can explain this to me. They're going to put you on testosterone, but they're going to tell you that won't affect your fertility. How the fuck does that work in the great scheme of things? How does
I
that
think
work?
I think it's a misunderstanding, or it could be that they just want to make a sale. So, and that's
Exactly.
and we have
We
this.
know that there will be people on steroids that can still produce one sperm and can still fertilize an egg.
If
But in the
if
great
their
scheme of
job is to get
yeah,
people into the
yes,
clinic, they're going to tell you what they need to tell you. It's just like going to
that's what it sounds like,
a
mate.
car
Honestly, I'm
place
just
to buy
thinking,
a car.
even if Dreamer was on a super low dose of testosterone, I think, and again, let's just base it off of stuff, people that we talk to, people on the forums,
Yeah.
people that he's doing TRT, people on steroids. The idea that I can't get my brain around it, go to a clinic, giving you prescription TRT, monitoring your
Yeah.
bloods,
But
looking
yeah.
after you in every single one, then telling you your fertility is going to be okay. I'm like, alarm, red flag, red. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
You're
that's
literally
fine.
there
We
to suppress
see,
my
yeah,
natural
we
testosterone.
like I said, it's like going to a car place. They're gonna tell you what
Yeah,
they need to tell you to sell a car.
that's what it sounds
They're
like.
gonna say, oh yeah, don't worry, this car won't blow up when you drive it off the lot. Then you drive it off the lot and it blows up. Well, they already got the sale, so what do they give a shit? They're like,
So
oh, the
there's
insurance cover it. But in your
there's
Go on,
situation,
sorry.
can you
Yeah.
be
Go on up.
can you can you be specific, Dreamer? Did you get for your fertility tested? Did you get your sperm count tested before and after when you did
um,
this protocol, or was this something that just happened?
So I didn't. I never got. Well, I got one initially at the start, and it was bottomed out. I had nothing, so I started from very, 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 very low. I never did it again because I was going to give it probably 6 months to see how my protocol was going to go. I didn't need to in the end. I did an at-home test, and that lit up after 3 months. So that's
Okay.
takes about 3 months for the cycle to obviously work anyway.
So you
But
got
yeah,
very lucky in this situation because I can tell you a lot of people have done a similar protocol and it did not work for them. So
Yes.
in your situation, you did get lucky. It has to do with your age, but also has to do with that you weren't on maybe the TRT that long, so your body was able to kind of recover itself. If you had been on TRT since you were 18, it probably wouldn't have worked. Like no matter
Oh,
what,
probably not.
you would throw
I
the
think
kitchen sink and it's not gonna work. So you got very lucky. And the nice thing too, it only takes one sperm. It takes one
Yeah,
sperm. So that's
yeah,
one of the things too that worked out for you. So do you plan on having more kids down the line, or are you
yeah.
done?
That was one of my question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, well, definitely. At least one more. I think the interesting thing actually, that with this fertility thing though, I actually came directly off of a cycle. I was on MPP primo test. Yeah, my wife dropped it on me. She wanted to do it then and there, so I pretty much dropped that and went straight onto
Yeah.
it. So it's yeah, I probably did get lucky. I don't know if you've seen my subs list on the log. A lot of that was actually created through the fertility. A lot of that was for
Yeah.
that.
We'll talk about
Um,
I'm
that
looking.
later
I'm,
for
I'm
sure.
looking
yeah,
at that right now. Let me give you shit for 1 minute, and then hopefully the rest of the show will be positive. So I made a note looking at your old log, not necessarily your new one because you only started that 2 days ago. And I wrote down a couple of things. One reference to your subs list, which is huge. We'll talk about that in a moment. And the other one is, and I wrote down blasting and cruising. So that's not technically true. It's TRT and cycles. So the question then became, does he want kids in the future? So I was thinking, right, do I give Dreamer shit and say, right, Dreamer, if you're going to do what you're doing, which arguably you have to fucking do vis-a-vis TRT, staying on and then doing cycles again is arguably going to cause long-term suppression because you will be on testosterone, you will be on testosterone all the fucking time. So then we get into the situation that Steve's just discussed, the same idea as if you've been on it since 18. The longer you're on, whether you're TRT or cycling, the less likely you are to produce sperm. And that's just a reality. You did get lucky before. So I would definitely, here's something I might consider, and this is probably just a few words of advice, Steve. If you are producing sperm, go and get some frozen. You touched on the fertility stuff in Australia, the same as here in the UK. You get one go on the NHS and then you pay. And I think off the top of my head, the last time, this was a few years ago, was 7,000 quid a pop. I believe it might be 14,000 now. But that's a lot. That's 20 something thousand fucking Australian, certainly 20,000 US. That's a lot of fucking money to be paying for trying to do the in vitro stuff. So yeah, it's going to be weighing stuff up all the time, trying to maximize what your body's producing. But again, the TRT and doing cycles will long term, and again, this is more for the listener than it is for Dreamer, arguably is just going to suppress you more. So the chances are in the future it's going to be that much harder. So have that at the back of your mind. That's me giving you shit. It's one of the things I should have said on your log. But hopefully, yeah, the rest. Talk a little bit about your subs here because you said, and I'm looking, it's a huge list for the benefit of the listeners, especially those parts of the supplements where you are trying to keep your fertility levels. What was the part of the supplement stack that I'm looking at that helped with that, you think? That might be useful for
uh,
listeners as well.
yeah. So there was quite a bit. Astaxanthin was one. I'd have to go back through my notes now. Astaxanthin was definitely one. Hang on, let me go on my list. It is long. I forget it.
It's
But
about
basically,
20 something for the listeners, it's about 20 plus. Yeah, I'm looking at it here with the CR list of zinc for sure.
yeah. So you got choline, you got inositol, astaxanthin. Yeah, going down the list. I've dropped a couple of them over the course of time as well. CoQ10, vitamin E was another one.
Yeah.
The zinc actually caused me some troubles in the end, actually. But
What
yeah,
was the
that you
what was the
can't.
problem? What was the problem there?
Uh,
Because that's
it was about 3 months I was taking zinc pretty high dose, and I started getting some real anemia symptoms, but it was never like my iron was fine, all my blood counts are fine. I actually ended up being copper deficiency. So I've had to add copper back in, which it's all coming together now. It's all fine, but yeah, high dose zinc for quite some time can do that. But yeah, a lot of this has been added over the course of time, not only for the fertility but also for the heart things that I've had in the past.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a pretty well put together stack. It's pretty expensive, but it gives me a bit of confidence, I think, doing what I'm doing.
All right, cool. So talk about.
Something I've said. Sorry, Steve. Something I said when it comes to supplements, and it's weird. Even you just mentioned in the price that was a bit expensive. I said it's funny when we talk about the N2 guard type stuff that we do on other shows, and I said I believe off the top of my head the price is something like 110 US, and I go, well, we'll spend 500 to 1,000 US on a stack, and then complain about looking after our organs. So listen, Dreamers give a great example of someone who's investing in his health by making sure that all his markers are good, by having a great, well worked out and researched what works for him supplement stack. So long as when you're able to look at this stack, Dreamer, you can say, this has its place and I know the effect it's having, then you keep it in. If you look at it and 6 months down the road, go, why am I fucking still taking that? Or as an example, again, for the listeners, taking the zinc out or reducing the zinc because it was actually causing them problems because of the high dose. So we need to look at that. We need to be every so often looking at what we're doing and saying, do we still need to be doing this? Or can I be dropping it? If I'm actually doubling up by using something else, why am I still using this? And so on. And if that saves a couple of dollars, so much for the best. Well, Steve.
All right, so let's get into your diet and training before we get into the PEDs. And I'll let Mobster touch on your training, but I'll take a look at your diet here. Seems to be like your diet, you keep it pretty simple. You do a typical, like a breakfast example that you posted was you did 100-gram oats, banana, teaspoon of honey, a scoop of whey. And then after your workout, you do the whey, honey, and rice. And then a lunch for you would be a mix of chicken, rice, and vegetables. Very, very simple, very simple stuff. And then dinner, ground beef, sweet potato, and again, vegetables. So this is like I'm assuming this was not your diet when you were younger and when you were in out of shape. So compare your diet when you were younger and out of shape to this simple, healthy, clean diet that you do today, and talk to some of the listeners out there who are, people out there who eat really, really poorly, and how simple that this type of food prep is today for you.
It has made it a lot easier. I mean, I work 45 hours a week. I train in the morning, I train at night. I've had to sort of try and make it as simple as I can. Otherwise, I'll be just spending all my time cooking or preparing. My wife helps me out with meal prep, but just in the essence of saving time, basically, I've come up with some pretty simple, quick meals that are healthy. My diet was absolutely shocking when I was, out of shape and unhealthy. A lot of takeaway. I was pretty time poor still, so I didn't really put a lot of thought into it. It was a lot easier just to sort of eat whatever. I always had knowledge on macros, always had knowledge on calories, but you don't really care when you're not really involved in fitness. So I like to keep it very, very routine, very, very clean. I find it really easy. Some people can't obviously eat the same thing every day, whereas I actually quite enjoy it. It's
Yeah.
it's easier for me. So
You food
yeah.
prep. How often do you food prep a week? I do it twice a week myself. I'll food prep for like 3, 4 days, then food prep 3, 4 days, and I keep it simple like that. And I kind of, I do something similar to what you're doing, like a similar type of clean diet. So what do you?
Every 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
I find it, it keeps the food fresh. I do freeze sometimes, like if I know that I'm going to be going away for work or if I've got a lot on, I will freeze a lot of it, but I don't like to. It never really is the same after that. So yeah,
Yeah.
every few days.
One of the things, and you don't have to be specific about this, but one of the things I've noticed for some people, the work is sometimes the hardest part in terms of food. And an example I've given in the past was a builder that I was using many years ago, my last place, training under 12s for rugby, I believe, after work, and a building supervisor going around to the different sites. And his biggest problem was eating crap with the boys in the morning, and then either not eating or just having junk food, snacks, bars of chocolate, etc., in the car for the rest of the fucking day. And I said, mate, keep some flapjacks in here for fuck's sake, or a little Tupperware tub or whatever else. And then you kind of got no fucking excuse. I think something I made a note of in yours. I said, do you get call outs or something like that? But there was some reference, I believe, in one of your posts about an alarm at work. So I'm thinking that's when you want to be sitting down and having your fucking food, or if you have to do different shifts, or if there's a call out, that's when I'd want to be able to grab something, even if it's not perfect, because you said having it cold or warming it up. At least your macros are going to be on point. At least you know that it might not be the best meal you've ever had, but it's a healthy fucking meal because the stuff that you'll grab from somewhere else, Subway or whatever, is not going to be nowhere near as quality or as clean or practical as what you would want if you do it yourself. And again, that's the benefit, listeners. This is a shit that's hard to do. And if you can do it, or chew it, so to speak, then at least you know that your fucking goals are still going to be hit. At least you know that you're not letting yourself down in that particular way. But yeah, fresh chicken versus
That Yeah, I
microwave just
find
warmed up or whatever. The
yeah,
same thing with pasta. Pasta's always weird when you warm it up.
I find exactly what you said. Having those meals ready to go. I get called out a lot. I'm always on the road. I go. What I do struggle with is when I have to go away for work. That hurts a bit. Having to eat on the run is quite hard. Can't necessarily take a week's worth of food with you all the time, but I think if you're 90% of the time, you're pretty on it, you'll be all right.
I had a job where lunch could be 2 hours, Steve, because you were told if someone comes to ask for help, you'd have to stop doing what you're doing, or having lunch, go and help them, and then come back. And that's a weird situation. So again, it's you're not sitting down for a 3 course fucking dinner, obviously, but at the same time, lunch taking 2 fucking hours when it should take half an hour or 45 minutes or something was always a weird fucked up situation. And again, that's essentially the same, being called away to go and do something, even if it's only half an hour, and come back and continue eating. So it was always like,
Yeah.
let's fucking at least have something healthy or whatever else. Let me talk about your training here, and I'm going to look at something you were doing before and talk about that, and then you can bring us up to date with what you're doing now. So this was in mid-September from your old log. And I actually like this as a training thing. It's 6 exercises, listeners, and this was a leg. He said, and I quote, not my usual training split, but tonight I did was hack squat, Romanian deadlifts, glute ham raise, leg press, leg extension, leg curls. Now, the first thing I liked was 6 exercises for legs. I think I do 4, but you're more of a bodybuilder than I am. The numbers were decent. Hack squat was 170 kilos, which for the Americans is 350 something, 4 sets of 8. Most of this was a thing, but the thing that I like looking at this, and you can talk about this, stream, if you like, is 2 or 3 of these exercises were taken to burnout, and you actually refer to burnout again. Most people, and I've actually seen a lot of this quote unquote science-based training, do what's called reps in reserve. There's arguments for and against. You're training to exhaustion, to burnout. Talk a little bit about that kind of aspect of your training, and then bring us up to date with where you are now.
Yeah, I like the burnout training. I take most everything I can to failure. I do struggle sometimes, I think, with the recovery a little bit, but that's sort of probably how I've learned to train. I don't really like the reps in reserve. I wouldn't be able to pick it properly, I don't think. I always feel like you haven't quite done enough. It's yeah, I think my training split has sort of evolved over the last probably year or so. More so just trying to fit it in around my life. I got to a point where my volume was creeping out to nearly 2 hours in the gym. It was just getting excessive. I love being in there. I love training. But yeah, I've been trying to make a conscious effort, probably to take a little bit away from, those more science-based things of what really is effective volume and not just junk volume. Because there's some, you'll see in some of my log posts that, I was doing 10 different movements for chest, for example, and it's just not needed.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, but no, the training to failure, I think, has probably been the thing I've really tried to do. And if I can't get failure necessarily, do lighter sets or drop sets for burnout.
Yep. I think there's a
But
thing on the training one, and I've said this on a couple of logs, where I get why we introduce exercises, but then I would split that workout in half. So one workout would be 5 exercises, and then the next time you train chest, it'd be the other 5, because why the fuck not? Rather than doing 10 all in one session, which is excessive. And especially, and I say this all the time, if you're progressing, do it. If you're not progressing, change it. That's fucking obvious. The burnout thing, again, this is just an observation. Dorian Yates said, I can't measure anything less than 100%. I know what 100% is because I'm fucked, but I don't know what 95% is. So that was kind of an example. But as you said, if you do that kind of training, then you need to have your eye on recovery. You need to say, am I recovered? If I'm not, leave it until I am. But obviously, we then get stuck into the 7-day week and today's chest day again and all that kind of vibe. But
well,
nevertheless,
I
an
found
obvious example, Dreamer, what you're doing is working, mate. So, we're looking at your physique and going, okay, could it be better? We should always be asking that about a training, but I'm looking at your physique and you've got, most people would love to have your physique, especially your fucking ab and core region, for crying out loud.
a lot of work into that, actually. I do a lot of direct ab work. It's something I think, everyone gets into weightlifting probably for the six pack. And I was told for a long time that it's all diet, where I don't think it is. I think you have to train them directly and you got to train them heavy as well. I found that with the deficit that I was running, and the deeper I got into my cut, the burnout sets I needed, because I couldn't lift the heavy weight anymore. It was actually a little bit discouraging. Some of my weight started really dropping off. I couldn't quite push as much as I thought. I'd leave the gym feeling like I hadn't really succeeded in holding strength. So going sets to burnout gives you that pump, that feeling that you've actually worked the muscle. So it might be a mental thing, but it's definitely the way I like to train.
Yeah, again, I'm just thinking of the typical gym user, mate. They never get that uncomfortable, and some people are kind of embarrassed at looking like they're training hard or grimacing or sweating or whatever else. You're in a fucking gym. That's what we're all there for. So the idea
Yeah,
that you're
absolutely.
pushing yourself, and yeah, you've got to be uncomfortable. It's not nice. It should be fun in terms of you getting great results and having a good pump. But I don't think proper training is nice as such. It shouldn't be pleasurable
Yeah.
per se. It shouldn't be fucking hard
I mean,
work.
if you want maintenance or just stay where you're
Yeah,
at,
yeah,
but if you want
yeah.
to
That
improve, you got to push.
yes,
It's like that in
yes.
anything. Let's talk about let's get into the PEDs now and the peptides that you're using. So I'm gonna go over the list on your log that you just posted, and you're doing 400 milligrams of test prop daily, 300 milligrams of Boldenon Ace daily, NPP 300 milligrams daily. You're doing 5 IUs of HGH AM fasted, 1 milligram of the retitride pin weekly, and then you got an AI on hand, but hopefully you don't need it. And you also mentioned that you aromatize heavy. So tell us about this stack, and is this something that you came up with for your particular goals? And it seems to be something that could definitely increase your appetite, but then you're running the Retta at 1 milligram to kind of offset that a little bit. Is that kind of the method to the madness of doing this?
The Retta is more so. I've liked what it's been doing to my blood glucose. I test it every morning, and I'm hovering low fours, and I kind of want to keep it there. My insulin sensitivity in my last labs came back at like I'm very, very sensitive to insulin. My fasting insulin was about 2, and I've probably got a credit Retta to that. So I want to run that with high dose GH and see if I can hold that, especially while I'm eating in a surplus. With the stack, I, I guess together with Gold Standard Labs, we've come up with that, all fast acting esters. That way we can adjust things very quickly. It should, yeah, it should do what I want to do for the goal. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is that estrogen part, which all being fast esters, it gives me the flexibility to be able to adjust it as I need.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. I haven't seen too many logs with all of those fast esters. It's a
Yeah.
lot of volume to inject daily, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I want to be clear here, Steve. 400 plus 300 plus 300 is 1,000 milligrams per fucking day. Is that correct?
No, no, no.
no,
Is
No,
no,
it?
because
weekly.
it says pin daily the way it's written. So I'm assuming you're breaking it down into daily dosages. So it'd be 1,000 milligrams a
Yeah,
week.
yeah, correct.
Is
Yeah,
it as
yeah,
written? Yeah,
yeah.
as written.
Yeah.
I was like, that's
It's
seven
probably
This
fucking
is
my
the
my
milligrams
this is
bad.
a
the
fucking
death.
Yeah,
week.
It's the death
Yeah, yeah,
cycle.
yeah.
Seven seven
Yeah,
thousand
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
milligrams a
No,
week.
When Dreamer said
it'll
to
work.
get good results, I'm thinking you'll be trying fucking enormous power. Good grief. So yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
Again, as written, 1,000 milligrams, but in
yeah.
reality, it's 1,000 milligrams a week. That makes way more sense.
So
But
talk
yeah,
about
the, the
the.
flexibility. I do like the flexibility, Steve. How are you getting on with the Retta? Sorry, that's a hugely popular thing at the minute.
I like Retta. At the start, I ran it at 2 milligrams straight up, and I didn't like it at all. Actually, it gave me a lot of nausea. It made me feel pretty average. But as I settled into it, it was one of those things. I realized that it never really crushed my appetite, but I was pretty lean, and I don't know that necessarily would when you're already sort of battling with hunger that much anyway.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
but what it did do is, when you get into a deep deficit, sometimes all you want to do is eat. It took that away for me. And yeah, testing blood glucose, I don't think I've ever seen it go anywhere near 4.5. It's always been below that. I've never had to go very high with the doses on it. But I think it's brilliant. I
Yeah,
intend to run it the whole way through.
it's a
something
great drug. It really is.
on
Yeah.
there. I believe I made a note here, something to the effect of that you keep an eye on your blood glucose and your blood pressure daily. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do. It's yeah, just a habit that I've got. I've never really had a bad reading on them, but it's one of those things. I know I
It's
probably
because of your
some of the biggest
history,
risks. Yeah,
It's because of your
yeah,
history.
correct. Yeah.
So it's something you want to watch closely. I want to ask you about the Bolden known Ace. And I've never used Bolden known Ace. I've used Equipoise many times, which is of course the Bolden known with the U ester, the long ester. What are have you used the Equipoise before?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So what made you
The
choose the Ace and not just the long ester Bolden known?
I think it just intrigued me. Like the lab that I'm sponsored by, like Gold Standard, he's got some really interesting compounds, and he's working on more. And I think just the I didn't really like the idea of how long it'll hang around my system. So especially even talking about potential fertility in the future, I didn't really want to wait months for it to exit my body. Um,
Yes.
EQ interests me a lot. So when I seen Bolden on Ace come out, it was like the best of both worlds. And I've not seen too many people use it, so I wanted to give it a go.
Yeah. So
I,
that
I
answers
think
my
you're
other
right when you
question.
said about having that, sorry, Steve, the flexibility, which we've
Yeah.
just said on other
That's what I was
shows,
going
and
to say. Yeah,
especially
I
if
was
you've
going to
not,
say that
yeah,
answers why you're using test prop instead of test E
yep,
or test sib
yep.
because you want that flexibility. And same thing with the MPP instead of DECA, you want that flexibility. So that makes sense. And then the
It
HGH,
also, yeah, sorry, Steve, he mentions no AI is on hand, but hopefully you won't need it. Uh, and again, I actually think what you said about the retro probably applies here. And again, it's for the benefit of the listeners. He is in condition, he is lean, and ergo his response should be different from some of the typical normal 15-20% level of body fat or higher. So keep that in mind when you're listening to what we're talking about here. That Dreamer is lean, so his response
yeah.
should be different,
So
and he's very aware of how he responds.
yeah, if I can get a word in, HGH, like I was saying, the 5 IUs of HGH AM facet. Tell us a little bit about that because I noticed the Australian guys they use the HGH a lot higher than the Americans, and I've always I haven't figured out why yet. Like, does that like if I use like a lot of my clients, if I put them on HGH and they even use 3 or 4 IUs, they're like complaining about carpal
Yeah.
tunnel and other side effects. So how are you guys running 5 IUs and not having those side effects? I don't get that part. Do you have any of those side
So
effects? Yeah.
yeah, so I'm not convinced on the HGH yet. I've been running 2IU for quite a while now, and that was pretty comfortable. I've only just decided to go up to 5 to give it a go, basically. And the last couple of days, I've just noticed. I actually posted in one of my log posts. I gained about 5 kilos overnight in water retention. So yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't think it's for me. I'm going to give it a little bit longer and try
So
and
you are
adjust the
getting the side
sodium.
effects. I'm not going crazy
Yeah,
Yeah,
here.
yeah, 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 yeah,
nah,
yeah.
nah,
It
nah.
seems like that. Yes, I've always wondered if it's because the HGH you guys use in Australia is like underdosed or what. Because in
Yes, that's what I
America,
was thinking.
20 or 25 years ago, guys would have to use 6 or 8 IUs because we were getting
Yes.
such underdosed crap. But I guess because now the
Nah.
sources in Australia are getting a lot better, you're able to
Yeah.
get higher quality. So 2 IUs
Well,
would probably be better, or 1 IU even.
well, it's
Talk
interesting.
about that a
Like,
little bit, Steve. Sorry, again,
yeah.
Dreamer, you might give us some insight here. We've noticed, and possibly it could be the what we might call the Evo effect, Steve. Just 2 or 3 years ago, the labs that were supplying the Australians would be all over the place. Labs would come and go and so on. And one of the things we've noticed on Evo, if you want to talk about this, is we've sort of created a protocol to get the Australian guys approved. The source of product coming in is understood. The nature of the Australian market is understood. I'm going to say I think actually the Australian market, and especially those that we've got approved on Evo, has improved greatly, especially in the last 6 to 12 months. So, have you noticed an improvement in quality of materials and labs and products that you used previously compared to now, and so on and so forth? Obviously, you're working with a company that you think is great right now. But what about in the past? Was it all over the place in the past and it's got better?
I think my dealings outside of Evo have been not the best. I actually probably everyone's got the same story. I got scammed going on Facebook trying to buy gear. So
Yeah.
I've had interactions like that. I've bought SARMs before online, which you got to question the authenticity. And I think you probably hit the nail on the head, and it's why I've chosen Evo. As my main place. Looking for fertility protocol. I found that
Yes.
easily. An
Yes.
exotic compound like Bolden Ace, I found that pretty easily, and it's always top quality. So, every one of the approved Aussie vendors, obviously, yeah, you said like Gold Standard Labs, that'd be my choice for most things. But yeah, any of them, like they're all top tier.
Do you see yourself adding any oral
Yeah.
steroids to this?
Uh, I thought about potentially adding some Anavar towards the end. It
Okay.
just depends where I go with it. If I, I've never actually done an oral.
Oh, okay.
If I get to a point where I feel, I probably won't do a cycle for quite a while after this one. I want to take probably a few months off,
Mhm.
6 months or so. I've been on for quite some time now. When you factor in my last log as well, so
Yeah.
I might go hard. It just depends where the labs end up and how I'm looking as well. So.
Do you think maybe a short oral cycle in the future, when you do use your next cycle, might be up your alley, like a 5 or 6 week oral cycle, then just come right off? Maybe run some prop with it, something like that, and just keep it more mild until you get the. Would that be an option, or you like these
Yeah,
injectables pinning daily?
I like the injectables. The idea, I mean, especially having a history of drinking, I don't really like to hit my liver too
Okay,
hard.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but Turinabol and things like that, they do interest me. But I think you could probably get just the same amount of effect through a good injectable as well.
Any other peptides that you really like out there that you've used in the past?
I'm currently using MT2. I'm quite pale,
Okay.
and in Australia, there's an abundance of sun, so I'm trying to make the most of that. It's actually
How are the side effects with that?
I'm doing all right. It's just a bit of nausea every now and then.
Yeah.
It just comes and goes, but it's been pretty mild to be honest. But I've noticed like I am tanning. The skin looks great, so I
Are
do like it.
you taking it before bed or in the morning?
Yeah, and right before bed. Yeah,
And that kind of helps with the nausea, taking it before bed.
yeah. I feel it set in, then I go to sleep,
Yeah.
so I don't have to go through it. So,
Yeah. It's
but
pretty,
peptides
yeah.
as a whole. Sorry, peptides as a whole is a whole world I've started learning about. So
Yeah.
I know that the other vendor that I'm linked up with on my log said today about getting some Clo, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
So I'll be keen to try that and see how that goes. But
Yeah,
yeah, all of them interest me.
I'm gonna try it as well in the next month or two because I'm beating my body up so much right now between being fishing season and then weight
Yeah,
training and
yeah.
my yoga and stuff like that. My body just gets beaten to shit. So I'm gonna try the Clo. I don't,
You do
it's
way too many hours, Steve. Way too many hours, everything. So yeah, you probably need a
yeah,
bit more rest.
I'm not young anymore, so especially the type of fishing that I do is absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
And it's really rough on my body. So any other peptides besides like healing peptides or the Retta or any of the GLP-1s? Are you looking at some of these other peptides out there as well besides the melanotan that are intriguing
Uh,
you?
yeah, I looked into Epithalon. I think it's how you say it. They've all
Okay.
that I probably will run that in the future as well. I like the anti-aging and the longevity type ones. Like even Mot C is another one that I've been
Yeah.
doing some research
I
on.
see a lot of
Uh,
Australians using MOTS-C. And
yeah, I've
that's
heard good things.
something
So
it's maybe not something that fits what I'm looking for, but I think it can help a lot of people. So I just want to say the Clo is a mix of BPC, TB 500, GHK. It's and then there's a KPV with it. So it's like a mix of the four healing peptides and it's it's an
The
option.
anti-aging thing seems to be the next market for peptides, Steve, because I've been seeing the anti-aging protocols, especially for
Yeah.
the over 40
The
athletes,
problem with
being mentioned more and more and
anti-aging,
more.
you might as well just go with growth hormone instead of taking a lot of
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
GHRPs and
yeah, exactly. For
GHRHs.
price, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It might make sense
What
just go
about?
with
I mean, let me
HGH.
ask. Sorry, what about being on Evolutionary? You mentioned earlier on when we were referring to labs and being able to get older products. What about the actual community, and especially the Australian community? Because we're going to ask a little bit about Australia as well. So, since you've been on Evolutionary, you said you was able to source better, higher quality products, more stable labs, etc. What about the rest of the stuff that you see in Evolutionary? For example, we need logs that grab your attention. And what about the Australian community on Evolutionary?
I think it's brilliant. When you can like obviously you can source great product, but you can also source great information. I've learned so much, and I think that in real life out in the world, it's a pretty lonely world. So it's good to be able to have like-minded people that you can actually discuss these
Yeah,
things with without the taboo, without the stigma. The Aussie
yeah,
communities, I mean, even the short time I've been on Evo, the Aussie community's just grown so much.
exactly. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it's good. There's so many good logs. Like I couldn't even name one. I mean, I post on that many of them, and yeah, they've all got different backgrounds, or they're all going for different goals, or running different compounds. I find it fascinating.
One of the things that
And yeah,
stood out from the other shows that we've done, and bearing in mind I gave you a bit of shit earlier on, just to make sure that we were on point with certain particular things, is the quote unquote non-judgmental. Because some of the guys, including yourself with regards to the beers that we were talking about earlier, but some of the guys with the drug stories and the crazy fucked up going to prison and coming out of prison stories and whatever else. And I know for a fact that when I was younger, I'd be judgmental as fuck. What's that fucking crazy prick doing? What the fuck is he doing over there? Stupid drug, blah, blah, blah. But as you get older, you've all fucked up. You've all done stupid shit. So I love the fact that Steve, especially maybe it's just us, the community, maybe some of us are older, we're way less judgmental and way more likely to try to lift people up.
Because we've been
And
full
improve them and help them.
circle.
Yeah.
And in life,
Yeah.
life punches you and you think you know it all, but life punches you in the gut and life's a big circle. So you could, you know, it's like in high school or college or whatever, the guy who's dating the hot chick and they're always together and they're always hanging out. And then one day they break up and then now the guy, he wants to be your friend again. And then you find a girl and then you always hanging out with her. It's a cycle. He was the one with his girlfriend all the time. You were the one who lost the friend and now it switched. Now you're the one with the girl and he's the one that's like, so over life, you've been through that shit. So like not having an ego, the moderators on Evo don't have any ego because we've all been through shit and we've all been through the ups and downs. So at the end of the day, nobody's better than the other on the forum. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and that's great because you want to work on
thing
your
as well,
weaknesses, you know, and it's
you
nothing
know,
wrong with that. So I think that's one of the big things. Some of these bodybuilding forums, the moderators are just a bunch of
Yeah,
pricks,
some
and they
places,
just
yeah.
bully others. They use their
You don't know, blah,
position
blah, blah. Yeah.
to bully others. So you know, we don't put up with that shit on Evo. You know, me as the
no,
head
and I think,
moderator, I don't want to see that from any of my moderators. You know.
you see every day as well. If someone's in there posting on their log, you can see the work they're putting in. So everyone's trying to do the same thing. Everyone's trying to get to a better point in their life, and it's good. Yeah, it's very positive.
I was going to give Steve shit because he told me off air I was special.
You are special. Yeah. You're a talker though. You don't let anyone talk on these podcasts. So you are special. That's the thing with you.
Let's give it, all joking aside, right?
He gets paid. The thing people don't understand about this podcast is Mobster, the more you talk, the more points you acquire, the more free gear you get. So that's the thing. That's your incentive. We put a little coin in a machine every time the more words Mobster talks. We put little coin.
He said he could do the show on his own. Yeah, just talk for an hour, no problem.
So before we let you go,
sorry, all joking aside, mate. The forum's obviously been greatly helpful. Give us a few thoughts, final tips, maybe something you can think of benefit to other listeners that you've learned along the way yourself that you'd like to pass on.
I think just being consistent with your logs. It's a good way for you to like that holds me to account. I know I've got a log every night, or at least be active on there. Just be truthful as well. There's no point lying to yourself or
yes.
It's just be yourself, I guess. It's a good community and no one's going to judge you, as you said. So just immerse yourself in it.
People are going to learn from you, Dreamer. They're going to see what you're doing. They're going to see, even if you run into problems, they're going to say, oh, Dreamer's made a mistake there, but this is what he did to sort it out. Oh, look what he's doing for his legs and look how his legs look. Look what he's doing for his abs. Look how his abs look. So whether we notice it or not, we become examples to other people. And the other thing, and I said this for all of us, is we're learning all the time. We learn from you. Steve learns from me. I learn from Steve. I've changed my opinion on things. When it comes to peptides, I could always boost my knowledge. And that's the great thing about being on evolutionary forums like Evolutionary, because we're constantly learning from other people by their example, the mistakes, the positives, the negatives, you name it, mate, the journey you've had in the past till now. If someone listening to this show says, that was me, what Dreamer was doing 15, 20 years ago, that was me. That's where I fucking was 4 or 5 years ago. And that's where I am now. And look at Dreamer pulling back from that fucking place. And look at the physique that he's got now, Steve. Look at the abs he's got now. Look where he's coming 4 years. Just fucking 4 years, Dreamer. From where you was to where you are now, it's out fucking standing. There are blokes that go to the gym, women, never mind blokes, that go to the gym that will kill to look the way that you do and have the knowledge that you have now. So, look, mate, honestly, the stuff we've done in the past, That's the past. Where we are now and where we're going forward is what matters. And you've turned your shit around, and you are, whether you know it or not, you are putting stuff out there that other people can benefit from. So give yourself a pat on the
Well,
back for that, please.
no, I hope I am, because really, I credit a lot of where I'm at now to everyone that's contributing to Evo. I mean, I spend a lot of time reading, I spend a lot of time researching, and a lot of it's through there as well. So, you look at the years and years of experience collectively that everyone's got on there, and there's a lot of knowledge, and it's all there if you want it. So, it's good.
So one last
Steve?
question before we let you go. How does kangaroo taste?
I've never had it. I've never
Oh,
eaten
okay.
it.
I
No,
was
no,
I was
no.
wondering, like, see, you've never seen any, like, you've never had it in front of you. You never had it like at a. They don't
Oh,
sell it in the restaurants and
I've
stuff.
I've had it, Steve. I've eaten it
so
here.
I live in like a regional country area. It is popular. People do like it. It's not for me. When you see them dead on the side of the road, and it's it doesn't associate with food for me. But apparently
Yeah.
it's not too bad. But yeah, um,
Bit
it's
gamey.
very 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 gamey, very lean.
Yeah.
Probably quite good actually for bodybuilding, to be honest. But
So you see them
yeah,
on the
no, no.
road, like what
Oh yeah,
happened? They got
well,
hit by a
where
car
I
or
live,
something?
yeah. They
Yeah,
jump
road
in front of
trip.
cars. Yeah, where I live, it's if you see them all the time. There's all highways between the towns where I live, and yeah, they'll just
Did
launch in
they
front of
come
cars.
up
You'll
to
see in
you,
front of
or
them.
they just avoid people?
If you were walking on the side of the road out on a highway, they probably would come up to you. Yeah, they're pretty
Did,
big though.
like, what would they do
Here's
to
a
you?
very Australian thing, Steve. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't really get this in the States, but in Australia, especially out of town on the highways, etc., road trains, and a road train is
Yeah,
essentially a really big fucking heavy truck at the front, and it'll have 4 or 5 trailers behind. These fuckers can be 100+ feet long, doing, what is it now, 50, 60 kilometers an hour. If you want
nah,
to pass one of
110.
them, there you go, right? So that's about 70
Yeah,
something miles an hour. Steve, it's 100 foot long, it's doing 70 miles an hour. You really got to have a big load of space to get past one of them fuckers. And talk a little bit about that, because that's something the Americans don't understand or experience.
yeah. Like the highways it's 110 k's, which I'm not sure what that is in miles per hour,
Yeah, it's
but
about 70.
yeah, these things are like they're 100 meters long. The big trucks. There's just big freight haulers. And yeah, you'll see them if they hit a kangaroo. Yeah, it's not very good
They
for
don't
them.
stop and
But
slow down, Steve. They fucking knock the roo out.
no, no, no.
Literally, the bars
Yeah,
on the front are called roo bars. Great big things
yeah.
like you see on the front of an old train. And these fucking lorries with cattle or whatever else, and they weigh 80, 100 tons, whatever. And that's just for the
Hmm.
cattle movement. And you never
Didn't know
see these
about
in the
that.
States.
Yeah.
18 wheelers, these things are like about 60 fucking wheels, mate. It's fucking mental. So,
Yeah.
yeah, look, thank you very much for coming on today, Dreamer. Again, it's 10:30 at night, be 11:30 now that we're finishing the show. So that means a great deal to us. Thank you for sharing your journey. The mistakes in the past, where you are now, is important, again, for people being able to turn their lives around and understand you don't have to be out of shape. You don't have to have these medical issues, dealing with fertility, being on CRT, and even your experience with the PEDs that you're doing now. Any final words or thoughts, Steve, before we finish the show?
Yeah, thanks for coming on, definitely. And again, check out Dreamer's log. It's on the forum. It's very easy to find. Just search for his name, and it's always going to be in the signature. Mobster's log is in his signature as well. My log is my signature. Everyone else that you listen to, they have a log in their signature. Thank you so much,
Come
Dreamer.
on, check out the forum, check out the logs. You're always going to learn. Ask Dreamer questions, ask us questions. That's what we're there for. Join the Evo community and let us know how you're getting on. Please note, we are not doctors and the opinions are ours. It is our view based on our experience and views on the topic. A podcast are for informational purposes and entertainment only. The freedom of speech and the First Amendment apply.